Welcome back. Now, following Team India's humiliating Test series defeat to New Zealand, heads are set to roll. The BCCI is set to review the team's performance, which saw them getting whitewashed 3-0 by the Kiwis at home, an ignominious record that had stood for decades. Now, there are 5 key issues on which the BCCI is focusing on. At the top of the list is coach Gautam Gambhir's rather questionable decision-making, which has raised eyebrows among fans and experts alike. Focus area number 2 is the role of senior players like Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma. They have been probably the 2 biggest giants in Indian cricket for the past decade or so, but their performance is under the microscope because the question is, are they now truly leading by example or are they just collecting paychecks? Focus number 3, the team management's pitch selection strategy. They created a rank turner for the second test. We got comprehensively outspun. They created an even bigger rank turner for the third test here. Is it now then time for a drastic overhaul? Then let's look at the focus on domestic cricket here. Why is it that Sachin Tendulkar, who retired more than a decade ago, had played a domestic tournament match more recently compared to someone like Virat Kohli? And finally, let's then look at workload management. It's a word which keeps coming up again and again and again. Has it just become a tired excuse given the fact that every possible decision step has been taken in order to ensure that our players are not overworked and there is a rotation in terms of the workload management here? But first, before we move on, let's listen into what the captain had to say to try and explain this humiliating loss.
It is quite tough, and it tells you nothing is easy in life. It's one day you're on a high, one day you're not, and that is something that I've learned at a very young age. But definitely, something like this will be a very low point in my career. Having lost 3 games at home, and yep, I fully take the responsibility of that. As a captain and as a leader as well, I have not been at the best of my abilities right from the start of the series.
Now, the BCCI is also expected to emphasize on the importance of domestic cricket, not just for the youngsters, but also for the senior players, because there are reports that the likes of Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, Ravichandran Ashwin, and Jasprit Bumrah were expected and asked to take part in the Duleep Trophy to prepare for the Bangladesh and New Zealand tours. However, it seems, according to media reports, at least all of them refused.
ये पूरी सीरीज ही जो है वो हम सबके लिए काफ़ी निराशाजनक रही है, क्योंकि जब न्यूजीलैंड यहाँ पे आई थी तो उम्मीद तो यही थी कि ये शायद रिज़ल्ट जो है वो 3-0 होंगे, पर वो भारत ये सीरीज़ जीतेगा क्योंकि जिस तरीके की भारत की टीम है. बट दे आउट प्लेड अस, दे प्लेड बेटर क्रिकेट देन अस, यही कह सकता हूँ. और जो कंडीशंस थी वो जो बनाई गई थी कंडीशंस, वो उसका भरपूर फ़ायदा उठाया न्यूजीलैंड ने. दे वर द स्मार्टेस्ट टीम एंड दे प्लेड बेटर क्रिकेट देन अस. सिंपली वी हैव टू एक्सेप्ट इट एंड मूव फॉरवर्ड फ्रॉम हियर.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is where what we are faced with right now. We have been whitewashed by the Kiwis at home, anticipating an absolute pasting by the Kangaroos when we visit their home turf for the Border Gavaskar Trophy in a few days from now on. Now, chances for India automatically qualifying for the WTC Finals is slim, given that they now hinge on a 4-0 whitewash of Australia in Australia. So do we wait for the inevitable to happen, or should action be taken now itself? Let me first go across to my colleague Karishma before I go across to my guest at this one. Karishma, the important news coming in from the BCCI that there are 4 or 5 key focus areas that the cricketing board is looking to revisit and relook and evaluate. Take us through what are the problematic areas which have been highlighted for the BCCI.
Well, yes, there are quite a few areas. Let's start with the senior cricketers and not playing domestic cricket even after getting 2 or 3 month break. That is one of the points that will, of course, be reviewed. Workload management, is it an exception or an excuse, is something that needs to be worked upon. And now let's talk about the Border Gavaskar Trophy. Of course, there will be a lot of questions asked, but there is going to be no tinkering because the team has already been announced for the Border Gavaskar Trophy. But you can expect perfect transition once the Border Gavaskar Trophy is over, because it is a long series that starts on the 22nd of January and will end on the 12th or the 13th of January in Sydney. It is going to be a 5-match test series, and the performance of senior cricketers is going to be very, very important, and it is going to be looked at very, very seriously, because it is going to decide whether this series versus Australia is going to be their last, or they are going to be given a chance to perform in the 5 test match series versus England as well next year, which is also equally important.
Okay.
But this series versus Australia will also decide whether we will qualify for the World Test Championship or not. So for a lot of reasons, this series is important, and it has raised a lot of questions versus New Zealand, the result that has happened, and now it is on the cricketers, on the coach to answer those questions in the Border Gavaskar Trophy.
All right. Thanks a lot, Karishma, for joining us with those details. And let me now go across to my guests who are with me at this point. Atul Wassan, former cricketer; Shekhar Luthra, senior sports journalist. We are also expected to be joined by Ranjit Bajaj shortly. Shekhar Luthra, let me start with you, sir. So what we essentially got from my colleague Karishma is that it's too late for the BCCI to make any wholesale changes right now, just before the Border Gavaskar Trophy. But a transition or a change in the process of the series cannot be ruled out, which, according to, is the most sane option, making a change right now, or perhaps bringing in some sort of change midway in the tournament here, which perhaps could precipitate even further chaos.
Look, the series has not started. You have selected it, obviously, team for the Border Gavaskar Trophy. But the problem is, who are not performing should be punished. It's as simple as that. But did that happen in Australia when we got out for 36 under Virat Kohli? Now, how can you punish somebody like Rohit Sharma, whose team was got out for 46? There were 10 runs difference. Point is, there was no accountability under the new regime then, and there is no accountability right now. And who is going to judge their performances? Is it Gautam Gambhir? I have nothing against him. He was a very gutsy player. Not technically, he was very, very challenged. But otherwise, a very gutsy player. He made his runs. He had a great career. But as a coach, what were the things that were looked upon, when getting him as a coach? Was it a election, compromise? That he was not getting a seat from the East Delhi and he got a seat in BCCI? A lot of people say. Now I believe that probably that was one of the reasons. But the players, if they are finding difficulty technically, Sunil Gavaskar once, when he was failing, he went to Rohan Kanhai of West Indies, the great Rohan Kanhai of that time. And he got his technical issues sorted out by talking to him, by practicing with him. But right now, our players have a problem. We don't have time. And the people and the chief coach and the
okay. So on that note,
coach,
since you've highlighted the first key problem, Chandrasekhar Luthra, let me bring in Atul Wassan on that as well. If the players, okay,
let me complete
go
this. And before that, Vikram Rathore, both were technically very challenged. So whom these players are going to look at to sort out their issues? And these were not the rank turners. Believe me, I have seen much worse much worse pitches and much better rank turners than these pitches. These three were quite okay pitches. Where they played, we failed. But whom they are going to look at? Who have no knowledge or the coaching, experience as far as the coaching thing is concerned.
Okay.
So probably there is a problem with the BCCI under Mr. Jayasha. There is a problem with lot of people who are involved in the decision making and who are going to make the difference. Nobody. I have no. As far as, if you are talking about that somebody will be punished, some action will be taken off, I have no confidence in that. This regime is all about Jayasha, who got a relief from the Supreme Court, and now we are under him, we are failing, and there is nobody who could point finger at him or at Gautam Gambhir.
That's a very strong stand being taken by Mr. Luthra. Let me get in Atul Wassan as well on this point here. Mr. Wassan, let's first look at the basics here, at least some of the problem areas. The one key issue that has been focused by a lot of players, a lot of experts as a point, has been the role of Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli. Again, we cannot undermine the role they have played for Indian cricket for the past several years here, and the fear factor they've put in the opposition psyche just by their very presence in the team here. But what will it take, or what according to you is the threshold at which a tough decision will have to be taken if it means axing either or both of these stalwarts?
I think we are digressing, and what Mr. Luthra is saying is, not actually just burdening the debate because some obvious things have been said and over the years. But the current crisis is that I am totally shocked, still baffled. I don't think this has happened, and I'll wake up from a dream that how can we lose to Kiwis who just lost to Sri Lanka in Sri Lanka and on these ranked turner pitches which we made ourselves. And this is like, this is like AD and BC. This will be a cricket before this and after this. And this at this point where we were seeing we'll go to Australia and we'll do this, we'll win again. Amazing, I think. And then I think this lack of application, everybody's to be blamed. Like when a train derails, you ask for the resignation of the railway minister. But in cricket, it doesn't happen this way. You got to give them a rope. But how can just within 6 months, the total dogma of the team can change? Because I think where are the test players? And I'll say again, nobody, says this, but I'll say because I am like a loose cannon anyway. Because India has got 1.4 billion people. We've got 8 players who are playing 3 formats for India. How can that be? New Zealand has got 35 lakh people, which is living next door to my house, and they've only got 4 players straddling the format. So do we don't have players for specialized players for specialized formats? What is happening here? Where are the players who will actually? But the problem is that test players are hard to find. And they were like tactics. It's not. I will not blame the former coaches because former coaches, if they didn't know anything, as Luthra said, India was performing. So it's not the coach; it is personal players. We've got 2 special players. But tell me, who actually allowed reverse sweep to be played in a test match on turning tracks? Why was it not stopped? Why didn't they say, "Okay, just block the game"? It's only Rishabh Pant who plays like this and he's won matches for India. Everybody cannot get carte blanche. Where are the test players? Where is the ugly, dirty test match batting? And where are the players? Where is Cheteshwar Pujara? But they are unglamorous players. But we again find players from IPL and all that who actually find it hard to transgress and they don't have the capacity. I expected Rohit and Virat to do that, but again, the bad pack. But again, the shocking statistics in the last so many matches. Imagine Root. Last since 2021, Virat he had only 1800s. Now he's ahead of Virat Kohli. Virat only has got 300s. So I think statistics leave aside last current performances. But now we go to Australia. The problem is that at this time, we can't actually jump ships. So for this time, but this is a wake-up call. And I think long-term, we have to find players who play dirty, ugly batting. But those players have to be compensated because they will, if they play like this, they will miss out on these glamorous T20 contracts.
But the problem is, Atul Wassan, if you had to give me or anyone else a list of 5 players who will play only test matches here, I think all of us would put Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma on the list purely on the basis of the talent, purely on the basis of the track record here. But does it then come down to not just talent but also application here? Because as we see, it's a mind-boggling statistic that Virat Kohli's last domestic match came even before Sachin Tendulkar's last domestic match for India here. Is it a problem where Indian cricketers, at least the seniors, feel that they're above going through the format of domestic tournaments, of playing them, and feel that they can just turn up for international events or big-ticket tours and then perform from day one?
Yeah, even, that is a example which is like in micro. If you see that they pick and choose tours. If Virat says, I'm not going to Zimbabwe or to West Indies, we've got other players who are jumping and BCCI is happy to involve everybody. But I think the problem lies that these 2 players are special players. They have earned the leverage, but they have earned the leverage till what time? There has to be a tipping point. And they know themselves, I think. And now they must be retrospecting in what just happened. And, because they have got the capacity and they couldn't actually, because the impulse to play big shots for the galleries. And they said, okay, we'll overcome this, but this doesn't happen in Test cricket. So you have to respect the format. And again, I'll say, if the coaches are to be blamed, I mean, Indian team went to a T20 World Cup and with Rahul Dravid as coach, why couldn't you hire a specialist T20 format player as for that particular tour? How can one coach can be 3 formats have the same coach? What is happening here?
Okay, so a lot of suggestions coming in at this point. Let me also get in Ranjit Bajaj to talk about the other more problematic aspect of Indian cricket, something which is dogged Indian cricket for far too long. The fact is that we treat our cricketers like gods, and some of us feel that gods can't make mistakes here, and gods are above any sort of criticism or in terms of action here. We all remember the massive furor that happened when Saurav Ganguly was dropped here. We all remember what happened when in the Sehwag was dropped as well. the point is, even today, the first responses see are these clan wars that have happened between Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma, where one is blaming Rohit Sharma's captaincy, saying, see, at least under Virat Kohli, we were so better as captain. Or Rohit Sharma's fans blaming Virat Kohli, saying that he's letting the team down again and again. What can Rohit Sharma do? Are we too obsessed with this celeb culture that stops, say, the BCCI from taking a tough stance or saying that, okay, you know what, Virat Kohli or Rohit Sharma have not performed. They have to earn their way back into the team.
Good evening, Ritangshu. Thank you so much for having me. And I think you've brought out a very pertinent point. Yes, we have this godlike culture, and especially in cricket, we have people who can do no wrong. And that's why they are also paid hundreds of crores, because of the kind of fan base they command. And that is why the tough decisions which need to be taken, the bullets which need to be bitten, even though it's a bullet, you need to bite it. And end of the day, it's the runs which matter. And are we a country like, for example, New Zealand or Sri Lanka, that we have to give such a long rope to performers because of their past performance? No, we don't, because we, like Atul Wassan correctly said, and in fact, even your senior sports journalist, Mr. Luthra, said that we are a country which now we've stopped asking the question, where is the next Sachin Tendulkar or next Dhoni or next Virat Kohli? No one asks that question anymore. That's because we've got so many of them. So people like Abhimanyu Ishwaran, for that matter, who's been performing his heart out for all his life, and he's a test. I mean, look at his average. And all these guys we're talking about, they don't even compare to him. I'm talking about test cricket and staying at the wicket. Because you have, like he said, you have to have the ugliness to bat like a Rahul Dravid or like a Cheteshwar Pujara and like Abhimanyu Ishwaran, because some days it's just about staying on the wicket and ask how long you can stay. We've stopped and we're giving these... And on top of that, function is also about do runs matter in the Duleep Trophy? Do runs matter in a Ranji Trophy? What's the point of having these competitions when the top scorers of these competitions are not there? And these guys don't go and participate in those competitions because they think they are too good. There's no one too good, because that's the competition which made them.
Exactly.
They were made by Ranji Trophy, by Duleep Trophy, and today they're too good to play. That's not the case with Australia. All the cricketers make sure they play it because they see that as a perfect way to get into international cricket. Whereas our people think it's below them, which is not right. Because they will be, I'll tell you why it is, because they'll be found out. Suppose a Rohit Sharma or a Virat Kohli getting a duck and an Ishwaran or a Pujara getting 100 in the same match, questions will be raised.
The problem is that even if Abhimanyu Ishwaran makes a century, he becomes an overnight sensation here, and either we are quick to throw him under the bus if he doesn't perform, or we are quick to hype him to a point where he probably, sweet leave the ground here. The problem, at least at the end of it, comes down to a mindset as well. If you want to be as successful and as ruthless as, say, the Australians or even the New Zealand Kiwis for that matter, we also have to take some leaves from their book in the way they approach the cricket, the way they treat their cricketers, the way their cricketers treat the game here. Atul Wassan, Shekhar Luthra and Mr. Bajaj, thank you so much for joining me on this very short but interesting chat here. Hopefully, key lessons have been put in place for the Border Gavaskar Trophy here, and whether or not we make it for the WTC Final, at least the period of transition in Indian cricket begins in earnest. Thank you so much for watching the Urban Debate.